Thank you. I'm Sherman D. Manning. I am Sherman D. Manning. Thank you for joining me. Did you all read the story about Ben Carson this morning? Did you hear his comments on President Obama? If Ben Carson is listening, I could have hit the wrong effect here. I don't know what that sounded like on that end. I can't hear it. But if Ben Carson is listening, you understand, Ben Carson, as I have said on numerous occasions, is the third worst thing to happen to black America. If you will go back, if you saw him talking to the, you're welcome, Black Lives Matter movement, this guy was as out of place as Bull Connor would have been. Ben Carson had the audacity, in case some of you all missed it, to give an interview, and he stated that Obama was raised as white and that Obama cannot really identify with the black experience. So, in other words, Ben is playing the black card now. Now, I am flabbergasted, surprised, shocked, amazed, bemused, befuddled, and even startled to hear Ben using the black card. Suddenly, he wants to authenticate his street creds and show that he identifies with African Americans better than Obama. If Ben Carson is blacker than Obama, for lack of a better term, then I will show you a pink elephant which flies upside down backwards. If Ben Carson can identify with John Q. Black guy better than President Obama, then excuse me, but I have a Learjet down the street that I will sell you for $5.15. Ben Carson needs therapy. He may need, I don't know exactly what he needs, but here's a man who has built his entire career off of saying anything he can to appease and to please white people. If you've ever seen him give a debate, he's not that sharp. He claimed that he hit some white people in the 70s during a riot. He claims that he stabbed somebody with a knife and that their belt buckle amazingly saved their life. I don't know what to do with Ben. Come on, man. I don't know what to do with Ben. I just almost got hit in Los Angeles by a car. Oh, Lord. I guess that is what discussing Ben does to me. I just almost got hit. And you don't get it any better than this, ladies and gentlemen. Live podcast, walking journalist, wrongly convicted author. It doesn't get any better than this. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not embellishing. I just came very, very close to getting run over. Maybe that person is listening to the podcast and identified me. Who knows? Nevertheless, I could not believe the headline. I could not believe the words of Ben Carson. Black people are a diverse group of people. And I think that a lot of us, I was talking with the counselor at Donovan State Prison, and we were discussing the fact that a lot of times white people attempt to anoint a leader for black folks. And they will say this is their spokesman. In the 80s, it was Jesse Jackson. Anything that Jesse said, they claimed that he was speaking for all of black America. Now, be mindful of the fact that I'm biased. in favor of Jesse because I know him, I met him, haven't talked to him in years, but I like Jesse. And I think Jesse's heart was in the right place. I don't care about the baby out of wedlock or any of that. That's irrelevant. That's just fodder. That's gossip. That's talk. That's rumor. That's innuendo. And that's people who are not learned in the Bible. I digress. I was telling someone the other day, if King David had been alive today, you and I would have left this church a long time ago. Think about it. Here's a man who, like Jesse Jackson, had a baby out of wedlock. The only difference in Jesse and David is Jesse turned around and had a husband killed. He had Uriah killed. So he was a murderer, a fornicator, an adulterer, and all of that. But God still had his hand on David's life. For those who think I'm trying to justify sin, wrong. What I'm telling you is that men are men. And not all, but, well, yeah, all actually make a lot of mistakes. Maybe not that kind of mistake, but everybody has issues. And what we do is we want to disqualify you once you have an issue that we can identify with or that we can recognize or that we can see. We want to disqualify you. But my point, the bigger point being, is that in the 80s and the 90s, Jesse was known as the speaker for Black America, sort of like the black president, so to speak. And what the media took for granted is the fact that there were a lot of people who did not like Jesse, unlike me. Now, I loved him. There were a lot of people who did not subscribe to the same approach to problem solving as Jesse did. And so it's wrong. I mean, who speaks for white America? I mean, I certainly have never heard that Donald is the spokesman for all of white America. I've never heard that George Bush or anyone is their spokesman, but they always want to assign us a spokesman. Right now it's Al Sharpton, and he speaks for all of us, they say. And I'm not going to speak negatively on Sharpton publicly because I was raised as a Baptist preacher. Don't forget the preacher part of me. And Reverend Moses Lee Ragland trained us to never speak negatively of another preacher publicly. That's just not what we do. If you think there's something wrong with him or his style or his integrity or whatever it is, pray for him. But don't go airing dirty laundry. So I don't have anything bad to say about Reverend Sharpton. But I can tell you that he does not speak for me. He doesn't speak for me. Excuse me. I don't care how close he is to President Obama. President Obama is my president. He's the greatest president that the United States has ever had, hands down. And I know some people will disagree with that, but I stand by that assessment. You have to face the kind of racism, the kind of bias, the kind of divisiveness, polarization, billions of dollars, and the machinery of the Republican Party trying to destroy everything you tried to build. When you face the kind of opposition that he faced and still have accomplished the kinds of things he has accomplished, he's the greatest, period. He's the Muhammad Ali of presidents, okay? Having said all of that, I don't care how close he is to Al Sharpton, if they're that close. Reverend Sharpton does not speak for Sherman D. Manning. He might speak for you, and I'm not upset with you. That's your prerogative. Listen to who you want to listen to. Follow who you want to follow. Lead whoever wants you to lead them. Do whatever you want to do. But he doesn't speak for me. And so, back to Ben. Glory to God. I didn't even know Ben, quite frankly, identified as African American. I thought he identified as just, a neurosurgeon, perhaps. And he wants to talk about whiteness. All of his schooling was done since his high school graduation in the midst of white people. And anyone who knows anything about life knows that you can be cultured in a certain community and you can pick up their idiosyncratic whims. You can, in essence, become one of them. And so I don't think Ben is in the position to be accusing anybody of not being black enough. That's foolish, and that's what he did. He'll try to clean it up if called on it by someone and say, no, I meant this or I meant that. But that's another trick politicians play on us, and we buy it hook, line, and sinker all the time. And they'll say something extremely dramatic, extremely sensational, and extremely offensive. and wait for the media to light it up, pick up on it, get some free exposure. They learned that from Donald, basically. And then they will qualify their statement with what I really meant was this, or with what I really meant was that. Well, here's what I really mean. Ben Carson is the third worst thing to happen to black people in this country. There's no bowing off of it. There's no conditioning what I said. There's no qualifying my statement. I mean exactly what I just said. He's the third worst thing to happen to black America. Ben hates the Black Lives Matter movements. Many people, including Sherman D. Manning, speaking of myself in the third person, it sounds kind of foolish. Many people, including me, believe that Ben is an Uncle Tomahawk and a sellout. And you don't have to be a Black Panther to not be a sellout. You don't have to run around yelling out Black pride to not be a sellout. You just have to know who you are, know where you came from, and know the opposition which your people have faced, and always have that consistent thought process in the back of your head as you attempt to move forward with life. Mr. Carson does not represent the average black person in this country. And so the last thing he should be doing is trying to play the black card. Ben, needs to play some other kind of card, and he'll be out of the race in a couple of weeks anyway. He's running out of money, can't get much attention, doesn't know how to debate, and he just can't really handle the big boy stage. I read where Ben left a sponge in somebody's head during a surgery. Somebody needs to check that out for us. Don't forget, Monty Henry sponsors this podcast. Monty Henry. I don't even have his information before me right now, but just Google him. He's in Ventura, California. MontyHenry. I am Sherman D. Manning. I encourage you to buy the book, The Truth About O.J. Simpson, Race, Class, Money, and Justice. It is at your local bookstores. It is also available on Amazon.com. The Truth About O.J. Simpson. The Truth About O.J. Simpson, Race, Class, Money, and Justice. Go to Amazon.com. Pick up a copy today. You'll be glad you did. Sherman D. Manning. Keep hope alive. If you happen to see Ben Carson, tell him I. If you happen to see Donald Trump, tell Donald I. Me. If you happen to see Ben Carson or Donald Trump, tell them that I said. Sherman D. Manning,